Hi, I'm Dan Myers, one of the founders of WakeKite. I'm here today to go over the contents of your WakeKite Superfly package. But before we get into that, I want to stress the absolute importance of you fully reading and understanding your WakeKite Superfly user's manual, as well as this instructional DVD that you're currently watching. This is important for the safety of yourself, as well as others around you when you're operating the WakeKite. The WakeKite itself comes packed in this gear bag right here, which also doubles as a backpack. So that's very helpful for keeping all your WakeKite contents in good working order in one location. Let's go spread out the WakeKite Superfly and take a look at it. Alright, here are the contents of the WakeKite Superfly package. Let's go through each item one by one. Carbon fiber handle with attached kite lines and kite line releases, air pump with pressure gauge, Spectra tow line, release shackle and lanyard, user's manual, instructional DVD, WakeKite with bridles and batten, and the gear bag that everything came packaged in. Now let's move on to setting up the WakeKite. The first step is kite inflation. The WakeKite Superfly can be set up on land, such as on a dock or the grass, or out on a boat. To start kite inflation, lay the kite out on its back onto an even, snag-free surface. Ensure that the struts and inflation valves are facing upward and that the WakeKite is firmly held in place. Ensure that the batten, which is a about 3 foot long fiberglass rod, is inside the holder on the WakeKite's front leading edge. The holder is red in color. Do not inflate the WakeKite if the batten is not in place. Before starting inflation, ensure that the dump valve, labeled number 3 on the WakeKite, is closed. This will keep the air that you pump in inside the chambers. Begin by pumping up both kite struts, which have valves labeled number 1 on the WakeKite. Next, you'll pump up the large leading edge chamber, which is labeled number 2 on the WakeKite. Inflating any of these air chambers is easy. First, you insert the kite pump tip into the selected valve, and then pump via the PSI gauge to the required pressure of 4.5 to 5 PSI. Pinch the valve to prevent air from escaping, and then remove the pump tip from the valve. Quickly close the cap on the valve and fasten the Velcro strap over the top. Do not push the valves into the bladder after inflating. I should also note that throughout the day, if the heat increases, the pressure inside the air chambers can also increase. So you want to check that via inserting the kite pump into the valves if you suspect that pressure has increased. Conversely, as things get colder, pressure can drop inside your air chambers, requiring you to potentially add more air. As I mentioned before, an inflated WakeKite can be transported on the boat. If this is what you intend to do, you should follow some simple rules. Ensure that all kite lines are disconnected from the WakeKite. This includes the tow line. Do not attempt to remove the kite bridles, as these are permanently affixed to the kite. Ensure that the handle, kite lines, tow line, and release shackle lanyard are in the boat and free from possible entanglement. Grasp the WakeKite, flip it upside down, and pull it by its leading edge into the back of the boat. Put the leading edge low into the boat and firmly hold onto it with at least 2 hands. With the kite now upside down and secured low on the boat driver can begin traveling. Do not drive fast with an inflated WakeKite in the boat. For faster or longer transport, deflate the WakeKite. Next up is connecting the handle and kite lines to the kite. The WakeKite handle connects to the inflated WakeKite via color-coded kite lines. These kite lines, which extend off either side of the handle, are color-coded green for the right side and red for the left. This is the orientation as the skier or rider faces the back of the boat. Set into each kite line, just above the handle, are the kite line release mechanisms I mentioned. These kite line releases are designed to come apart when too much stress is placed onto either of the kite lines. Before proceeding, ensure that both kite line releases are correctly snapped together. If one or both kite line releases are separated, refer to the section Writing or your user's manual, Chapter 6 Writing, to see how to properly reconnect the kite line release. Now let's talk about connecting kite lines to the bridles on the kite. On the underside of the WakeKite are 2 color-coded bridles which serve as connection points for the 2 kite lines. The red bridle on the left connects to the red kite line. The green bridle on the right connects to the green kite line. On each of the two bridles are two different colored bridle rings that the kite lines can connect to. Each of the two colored bridle rings represent the different power settings for the WakeKite. There's a black ring and a white ring on each bridle. For beginners, as well as intermediate users of the WakeKite, I recommend connecting to the white rings, which represent the lowest lift power. Connecting to the black rings will bring quite a bit more lift and should only be used by very experienced WakeKite skiers and riders. Next up is attaching the tow line to the boat. The WakeKite tow line is made up of two separate parts that connect together to create the complete towing line. These two parts are the shackle release with lanyard and the tow line. Using the rope loop end of the shackle release with lanyard, connect this to the boat or watercraft tow connection point. Make sure that a proper and secure connection is in place. Next, connect the tow line to the shackle as shown in these photos. Make sure that the shackle release lanyard is hanging straight down and is not tangled.